Good morning, church. What do you think about a bully? You know, when it comes to bullies, we fall into three categories. Number one, we could be the bully. Mean-spirited, trying to take advantage of people by bringing a little bit of a nuclear bomb into their emotional sphere. Or we could be the victim of a bully. Somebody who can't think what you want to think, can't say what you want to say, can't go and behave like you feel like behaving because somebody else thinks it's their responsibility to own you and to control you, to own what you can say and to control what you can think even. And then there's the third category, the silent majority. When it comes to bullying, we as Christians understand this concept very, very well. We don't talk about it much, but our elders are forcing us to talk about it because they want us to be courageous. And so if we're going to do what they're asking us to do in the new year, we're going to be victims of bullying. True or false? Chris, it's easier to speak about the gospel in a foreign land than where you are. True, right? Why? Because the bullies they don't know what to do with you. They haven't managed to calm you down. They haven't managed to lull you to sleep in your sinful, slimy little pot that's on a slow boil. So slow that you haven't managed to realize what the world is doing to you. But you go to a foreign land and they don't know what to expect. And so for a few weeks, you can speak. But if you stay long enough in a foreign mission field, you'll become acclimatized to that. In other words, the bullies would have got your number. They would have a sign on you, and they would get you every time you speak up. Do you believe me that that's true? Do you believe that Jesus is still speaking in this world today through you? And do you believe me when I say the moment you start to boldly talk about Jesus, you're going to be bullied into silence? The main ammunition being used today is political correctness. And through whatever means, they're going to make you keep quiet. I talked about abortion in the teen class today, and one of the things that came out is that in our school system, you are encouraged not to talk about it. It's one of those topics. Now, for those of you who are my age, you will remember that when you went through high school, there were two things you never talked about: politics and religion. Well, now, abortion is now part of that group. And there's a lot of other things. A lot of things that we're going to be trying to do in the new year is going to come under that umbrella. So where are we as a church? We've been gearing up to come to a fourth quarter, and in the fourth quarter we were going to speak about evangelism, and we are. You're going to see a lot of compassion. You're going to see a lot of emotion. You're going to see that sometimes I'm filled with a lot of courage and a lot of passion because this is a very hot topic. This is something I'm very excited about. But you may want to talk to their elders and tell them to tone me down. Because if you don't, I might lose my job before the end of next year. Because I don't know how to talk about evangelism without being courageous. That doesn't work. And I don't know how to tell you, other than to tell you to break out of the grip of the bullying of the world. So Jesus still speaks through people today, through us, through anybody who's willing to speak up. There's still a bully. The bully is the devil, and he'll work through anybody. He might even work through some of us. And he'll want us to keep quiet. And then there is the silent majority. Who do you think that is? Well, we're going to see today. We're going to see very, very clearly what it is and who the silent majority is and how Jesus speaks and what the devil is about to do. Now, the reason I can tell you that the world wants us to keep, and if you're filling out your outlines, keep silent, is because they went to God in the flesh and told him to keep quiet, to be silent. So let's see what our text says. And some of the Pharisees in the crowd said to him, now what's going on here? Well, if you turn to the verse just before, verse 38, you'll see that Jesus is coming into Jerusalem. This is Luke chapter 19. What has happened here is you have the wonderful story of Zacchaeus. Who doesn't like the story of Zacchaeus? If you're not familiar with Zacchaeus, Zacchaeus was the wee little man, not very tall, who wanted to see Jesus, and he had all kinds of obstacles. He was a sinful man because he was a tax collector, and he had a stature problem because he couldn't see where Jesus was. So he made a plan, and everybody likes it when you like Zacchaeus because he made a plan to talk to Jesus. It's a wonderful event that really happened as Jesus is walking toward Jerusalem. He's about to ride into Jerusalem on a colt, a young donkey. And the disciples around him are gathering, and the crowd's becoming bigger and bigger, following him into Jerusalem and waiting for him at Jerusalem. And then he talks about the parable of the talents. Also in Luke, it's called the parable of the miners. And we love the parable of these talents. And so again, you've got this Zacchaeus, and then you've got this incredible parable, and it's building up, and then eventually he's coming in. And the only thing in between that I've left out is his instructions on how to get the colt. Tells his disciples, go and do this, and say the master wants him, and here he comes, and he's riding on the colt into Jerusalem. And what do the people put down? Can you see those leaves over here in the background? They put down palm leaves, indicating our king. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 12. It's a fulfillment of a prophecy. Our king is coming. The Messiah is coming. And they're bold, and they're shouting out, and they're not going to get quietened down. You're not going to shut them up, no matter what you do. And as this is happening, the bullies make themselves known. A Pharisee, some of the Pharisees in the crowd, is so brazen that they will come to God and say, keep quiet. And tell your disciples while you're about it to keep quiet also. And so here they are shouting, verse 38, blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven and glory in the highest. Peace in heaven. For 4,000 years, if I had to make a guesstimate of the time, there's not been peace in heaven. Because from the moment Adam and Eve sinned, there was turmoil, not just in this world, but also in the heavens above. And now finally, Jesus is coming riding in, and they don't want you to talk about it. You see, right now, you're the majority. And right now, you're talking. And so what do they say? And some of the Pharisees in the crowd said to him, teacher, rebuke your disciples. Don't let them think what they want to think. Don't let them go where they want to go. Don't let them say what they want to say. It's absolutely politically incorrect to say this right now. And so they're trying to keep Jesus quiet. Do we do that, church? Do we do that? Do we keep silent about who we are? Billy went onto our webpage this week and he said, we've got one of the nicest web pages. Why? Because he looked at some of the other web pages. Do we tell the world enough about this web page that we have? Do people know who we are? You know what's another thing I've noticed the last 6 years about Summit Church of Christ? What do you think about this? Think this is good? How good do you think this is? Have you seen a church, not just Church of Christ, any Church of Christ, with this type of information? 3 really nice newsletters, articles normally, a lot of information, statistics, an outline, a prayer list that's really well kept up and updated. Just an amazing thing here. Calendar events. I haven't seen this level of publication in other churches. I'm sure that there are some 2,000-3,000 member churches that have ones even nicer than this, probably printed on glossy paper. But you know what I've never been able to find? When I go to a Church of Christ webpage, you know it's one of the first things I look for? And I always find it. Guess what? The newsletter. Have you seen other churches put the newsletter out? Guess what you'll never find on our webpage? Why? Why don't we want the world to see who we are? Now, this is where I need to ask the elders to tone me down a little bit. Because you see, when I'm talking about courage, I'm talking about it from a completely different point of view from where you are. I'm talking about what churches in the South do and how they believe and how they think and how bold and brazen they are. See, we're sitting up here in the North, and we are isolated as far as churches are concerned. We don't experience the level of boldness that churches down south experience. And so we've learned to become a little bit timid. But I remember being on the mission field with a young family and having people several times break into my house to try to harm us. We had a big bullseye on our backs. We couldn't go from where we live to work without being a target. Never. We couldn't. If I drove from my house to where I worked with a window that far down and I had a watch on my hand, I wasn't going to get there with that watch. And I'm not talking about an exception. I'm talking about the rule that there are people out in the mission field right now who are so brazen just by being Christians, and yet we maybe don't want people to know that we are members of the church. We might not want people to know that we're in worship service today. We might not want people to know our identity because somebody might steal our identity. And if they steal our identity, what will they do? They'll drain our bank accounts. Now, let me just pick you up to reality here just very briefly. When last were you at a funeral? Did you look at that person that was being buried? Did you see any money attached to that person, any possessions, any house deeds? When you come into this world, you come in with a whole bunch of stuff. You come into this world with, Job would say, with nothing. And I'm being polite right now. And you know what? You will leave with nothing. It doesn't matter if your identity is taken. It doesn't matter if people come to your house and beat you up and steal you and rob because you're a Christian. It matters that you are the light of the world and the salt of the earth. We're not going to be courageous, brethren, if we are the silent majority. So, first thing I want you to know, what does the world want from us? Does the world want us to speak up? Does the world want us to say that Jesus Christ is the Son of the living God? Does the world want us to say we draw the line in the sand with anything that conflicts what God has already said? Or does the world want us to be silent? So before I move on, there's three categories in Revelation. There's hot, there's cold, and there's lukewarm. Let me make sure you understand this with no doubt. Lukewarm people are not going to make it to heaven. They are not children of the kingdom. In fact, Jesus is ready to do what? Spit them out. If you're cold for Jesus and you're the bully, you're in trouble. If you're the silent majority, you're in trouble. If you're hot for Jesus and you speak up, you're the ones that are going to make it. And brethren, we're either going to do this as a church together or we're going to fail. I don't want us to be split on this. I want us to be together on this. I want us to choose the same evangelistic method. I want us to choose the same place we go. You know, we're about to bring a youth minister into our midst. I hope that we are on the same page with every detail. We have a limited amount of resources and we have to be together on this. World Bible School is not my favorite evangelistic method. I didn't even think about it until the Lord sort of knocked me over the head with a hammer. How did that happen? Well, it wasn't Tom that said this is a good tool. It wasn't anybody that came from World Bible School and said, would you consider doing this? It was a combination of everything. Because you see, World Bible School, after 3 lessons, they invite the people who are being taught to come to the church and to receive a present, a gift. And you know what that gift is? A World Bible School Bible. Now, we have a problem. We don't know where we're going to find those Bibles. Where are we going to find World Bible School Bibles? Anybody want to guess? Without anybody telling us, we outfitted this entire church with World Bible School Bibles. Isn't it crazy the way the Lord takes this dumb, stupid person and says, wake up! You know, we've got to be on the same page. And just like that, I've changed everything that I'm doing to be on the same page. So what the world wants is for us to be very confused, very divided, and very quiet. But we're not going to be quiet unless you can go to the elders and say, please change the vision statement for next year. Please don't make it courage. You all are getting a taste of what a whole year is going to be like. So you may want to really reconsider this. The world wants us to be silent. We're not. Why will this never happen? Why can we never be silent? Anybody want to guess? This is why. He answered, I tell you, if these were silent, who's these? This majority. These people who are saying, Hosanna, praise God, peace on earth, and all these beautiful things. These people. This is who he's talking about. I tell you, if these people were silent, the very, what? Stones. The very stones. These stones all around us would cry out. Do you believe that to be true? I mean, literally, do you believe that to be true? Do you think if we as Christians are silent, the stones will cry out? It's true, brethren. I can prove it. Wouldn't you be impressed if I could prove this to you? 10 months out of the year, I hear all kinds of worldly messages. But comes November and December, if I had to walk into a mall in America today, guess what I'm going to hear? From the very stones around me, I'm going to hear praises to God. Isn't that crazy? Am I lying to you? Or was that the truth? If you walk into a mall right now, November started, would you hear Christmas music? Right? The very stones will cry out if we don't speak up. This is what we need to do. Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord. Peace in heaven and glory in the highest. We need to tell the world, not just our little community. And he said to them, this is after Jesus was really upset with the disciples because some of the women came and said, he's resurrected from the dead, and they didn't believe. And in verse 14, Jesus is chastising them. In verse 15, he says, and he said to them, go into your community and proclaim the gospel. No, go into all the world and proclaim the gospel to the whole creation. I've never seen a mission-minded church that doesn't succeed. Maybe not in one generation, maybe not in 2 generations, but somewhere along the line, a mission-minded church explodes in growth. It always happens. If the majority of our emphasis and our resources in the mission field, God will bless us where we are today, and this will become a mission field like you've never seen. Go into all the world. And what do we say to them? Whoever believes and is baptized shall be saved. Whoever does not believe shall be condemned. That's a message that we need to send, and we need to be very, very bold in this message. The third thing, let's recap. The first thing the world wants us to do is to be silent. Why is this never going to happen? Because if we as a majority are silent, the very rocks will cry out. And you will hear Christmas carols all over the world right now, and maybe you won't hear a squeak out of Christians. And brethren, that ought not to be. What happens if each one of us does decide to speak up? Now, I'm going to give you some advice. A little while ago, actually, I think it was yesterday, Elizabeth, you asked me, is World Bible School easy, right? Okay. I gave you an answer, then I backspaced and I said yes. Let me tell you the answer I was about to give Elizabeth. You've got to be like your teenage children. Just push the button. Just push the button. Have you seen our teens do that? I mean, let them loose on the computer and they just push buttons, and that's all you got to do. Is just go ahead and do this, and you will be rewarded. Last week I challenged some of you or all of you to become World Bible School teachers. Now, in this last week, can I see a show of hands? How many of you in the last week became Bible School teachers at World Bible School? Okay, we got 1, 2, 3... and 4, Pam, I thought you were also, right? 4, right? Pam almost slipped under the radar there. 4 of you are now added to those of you who already were Bible school teachers. Now, those of you who have been doing it, have you felt it to be rewarding? Yes, absolutely. It's the most amazing thing that you can ever become part of, teaching the gospel. Don't care what method you use, but right now we as a church need to be locked into one method because of our resources. Tonight, if you come back, I'll go through a little bit about how it works, and you'll be able to see an actual web page of what to do and what to expect. And on the 17th of December, we'll have somebody from World Bible School come and give us a Q&A. All right, let's go back and look at some of the results. Now, this is Jesus coming to Jerusalem. And as he sees Jerusalem, one of only about 3 times, maybe more, I read about Jesus weeping. One when at Lazarus' tomb he wept, and one at Gethsemane just before his crucifixion he wept, and here's another one. And when he drew near and he saw the city, he wept over it, saying, "Would that you, even you, had known on this day the things that make for peace." Church, political correctness and silence will not make for peace. How much do you think our world wants peace? Do you think our world wants peace? Okay, let me ask you this. Do you think governmental leaders want peace? Or do you think the world, people, citizens want peace? Let me tell you one of the best ways a president can up his popularity. Do I need to say it? It's not peace, okay? It's not peace. But we want peace. We, the people, want peace. This world wants peace. And you're not going to get it by avoiding this or by being silent. So why are we going to be silent? Well, if we speak up, we're going to create arguments. If we speak up, people are going to shame us. If we speak up, people are going to avoid us. If we speak up, people are going to, you can fill in the blank there. But this is all not true. It's like, why come forward and confess? Because people are going to think badly of you? No. That's the way to get relief of your sins, to confess. But the devil doesn't want us to know that. And so Jesus is right coming out here and saying to us, if we want peace, we need to speak up. But now they are hidden from your eyes. If we don't want to believe it, we will not believe it. So what are the benefits of speaking up? When we speak up, brethren, people are saved. How many ways is there to heaven? How many paths? Jesus said to them, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. How many names is there by which we can be saved? We need to speak up. There is no salvation. There is salvation in no one else. For there is no one other than the name under heaven given among men by which we must be saved. There's only one name. A World Bible School teacher was teaching a young lady this. And the young lady had been taught that there's many. She wasn't of the Christian, she was of a Hindu religion. And that's what drew him to this person. And she believed there was many ways to get to heaven. And when she came across this World Bible School course that caused her to have to think that there's only one way, she was very, very upset with the teacher. And the teacher's response to her was, I didn't say that. Jesus said that. What do you think about Jesus? She said, well, he's the best man that ever lived. And then the Bible school teacher wrote back and said, well, and on the internet this is almost instant. What do you think somebody who you think is the best man who ever lived would say something to hurt you? And she said, no. Today, that lady is a Christian because of what Jesus said. World Bible School is not putting yourself out there. It's putting Jesus out there. People won't be mad with you. They might be mad with Jesus, but he's got big shoulders and he can take care of it. When we speak up, we discover something. People are searching for the truth. The devil wants you to think nobody's interested in what you have to say. Nobody's searching for the truth, but they are. And when we speak up, we discover the incalculable value of a saved soul, of salvation. A week and 1 day ago, I started a class with a lady from Lady Brand, South Africa. Her name is Mon-Tues. I didn't know Mon-Tues is a male or female until I started into the classes. And I started to see what some of the questions that she was saying. But she has gone through the Bible so fast. Do you remember when World Bible School was being taught and you would go back and forwards and have correspondence courses? And after about a month, if you had a very diligent student, they would get a certificate. In just like 8 days, this lady is on her sixth certificate. I tried to put it up on PowerPoint so you could see all the courses that she'd done, and it was too much. It really was too much. I'll try to show you tonight. I'll go through the list, and you can see all the courses that she's done. In the meantime, she's right near the end, and she came across a question here and says, consider your life until now. How close are you to God? This is what Mochidisi said. I'm getting there since I have started this journey of having knowledge of will and way of God, and now I'm not ignorant and the true path of God, and I intend on living the way my Master wants me, and live in the right path as I have started now, so I become close to Him. And then that's question number 8. Yes, question number 9, a follow-up question. Do you wish to explain your answer further? And she wrote, and it's like a paragraph every time. And I had to take some of the text out here because it was just too long. I haven't once been saved, as I've always walked on the wrong path. I haven't done what is needed to connect me to God, like being baptized. I haven't received the Holy Spirit, since I can only have that when I have confessed my sins, baptized, and living truthfully to the Lord. And I'm not far from God, as I'm now heading to the right direction that leads to Him. In the meantime, she's even confessed, because that's one of the questions, some of the things that this young lady has had happen to her in her life. Very, very hard things. In the last year or two, she's lost her dad, she's lost her aunt, and she's lost a brother. That made her very angry towards God. A lot of things. But she's come to this point where now I've asked her, do you want to be baptized? And she said, yes. I asked her, would you mind if I gave your contact information to the people in South Africa? She said, no. I said, would you give it to me? She gave me a phone number. And so we've sent all that on. In 8 days, sitting here in northern Kentucky, going out into all the world, I'm finding out again that salvation, the value of salvation, is incalculable. Her lifestyle is changed. Her circumstances have not changed. She's in a dire situation. But her life will change. And I know that for a fact because of God. If you want to talk up for Jesus, and you've come to a realization today that maybe we as a church have been a little bit quiet, not letting people know exactly who we are, and you want that to change, it's very simple. We can do that. We can ask the elders to continue challenging us to walk in this path. And by the end of December next year, I believe we will all be incredibly courageous. If you want to start teaching the gospel right now, there are ways that we can do it. If you don't have a computer at home, Jeff, I think we have 3 or 4 computers laying around the building. We can set them up. We can set up accounts for you. We can have multiple accounts. So you just let us know. If you want to teach the gospel, there is no simpler way. What you see from this lady, it was not my work. She did it on a self-paced study. I just encouraged her. Yes, correct. Every time there was a wrong answer, it said wrong answer. It coached me in what the right answer was. It was so easy. Insert text. It's just a button you push, and boom, there's the text. It's really so easy. And this is the result. If you want to take up that challenge, go into all the world and make disciples, and you need the prayers of the church, then you're also invited. But if you're here today and you realize that you're not a child of the King, that you've not yet been baptized, the invitation is for you also. Whatever your need is, please come forward right now as together we stand and sing.